transitioning to one of your first great hits that you developed, how did you come across the script for Fatal Attraction, and what did you see in it that almost nobody else saw in that script?
Well, it wasn't a script at first. Stanley Jaffe, my partner, had gone to London looking for new talent, looking for new writers, looking for new directors, and he was exposed to a short film that was probably less than 20 minutes called Diversion by a man named James Dearden. And the short film was about a husband who, when his wife goes away for the weekend for absolutely no reason, cheats on his wife with a woman who tries to kill herself, and then the wife comes home, gives her a kiss, and the phone rings. And it's her on the phone. He picks it up, he puts the phone down. Who was it, honey? Nobody. The second time the phone rings, she goes to pick it up and freeze frame, and that's the end. And I saw that short film with Stanley, and we brought James Dearden, the writer, director, out, and I was mesmerized by it. And I was mesmerized by it for many, many, many reasons. First of all, I was mesmerized by the fact that, and I'd seen this in the news. I remember Jean Harris, who was a very established career woman. She ran a private school, and when her boyfriend left her, she tried to kill him. And you've seen a lot of these things. And I had experienced a situation, not quite as dramatic, but, I was in a relationship, and the guy got up and said, "I don't love you anymore," and left, and I couldn't get out of bed for 2 days. I just cried, And I thought, what is it that makes you feel, man or woman, when somebody leaves you, that they've taken your being with them, that they've taken your soul? And everybody has experienced that. Everybody has driven around the block of somebody they used to care about to see whose car was parked outside. Or in the old days, you used to be able to call the number and you'd hear their voice and there was no caller ID and you'd hang up and you'd go, what the heck am I doing this for? So I was fascinated by that. And then I was equally fascinated by the attitude of a man that you could spend an intimate weekend with somebody and never see them or call them again. And that just didn't seem right to me. It seemed like you should at least call them the next day and say, let's be friends, whatever. And so that your actions have consequences. So I couldn't get that out of my mind. And Stanley kept saying, so what's the story? So the wife picks up the phone and finds out her husband cheated. She throws him out. Depressing movie, or they go through a lot of ups and downs and then they get back together again. What's the story? And I said, I don't know. And then I wouldn't let go of it, so after a couple of days he said to James Dearden and myself, go off, see if you can come up with something. And we couldn't. We just kept thinking and thinking and thinking. And then one day, and I can't take credit for much, but I can take credit for this, I said, what if she was pregnant? And James Dearden looked at me and I said, well, if she's pregnant, see, an affair can come and go, but a child will last forever. And it will be there as a reminder. And he then went, I know exactly what to do, and he wrote the whole outline for the movie in like 6 hours.
But why did the critics, Sherry, get it so wrong? You and I have chatted about this in the past. It's incredible, because you told me that, and I remember this at the time, when it came out, across the board, there's one person that had faith in the movie. It was you. You knew it wasn't do well, and it took off. But the critics, why did they get it wrong?
So
Not only for this, but for so many movies.
Well, the critics often get it wrong, and they're a group of people that aren't. We used to have a thing: if we got really good reviews, we weren't going to do business. If we got really bad reviews, we were going to do business. I don't know that that's true, but it was like the critics, and a lot of people, and it really hurt me. A lot of people felt that it was an attack on women, on career women, that it was an anti-feminist movie, which was as far from the truth as I can possibly get. And they felt that Glenn Close represented all career women. To me, she represented one career woman, not all. And it's like saying, The Godfather's an attack on Italians. It wasn't our intent. So it got just this kind of spinning out of, I consider myself a feminist, of feminist groups just, really angry. And I remember reading that review in Time and Newsweek at the time, which said, it was anti-feminist. And I just was devastated. And then I remember reaching out to Gloria Steinem and saying, why do people feel this way? And she explained it to me. She said, it's a career woman. She's seen as iconic, and that's what happens. And so, despite that, the film was nominated, I think, for 6 Academy Awards. We didn't win any, but it was a fun night. And I think it's actually the 30th anniversary of the release of the film was Friday. And it lasts forever. It has endured. It's become part of the culture, Fatal Attraction, whatever. But I think, in many ways, no man will ever have a one-night stand and not call that woman the next day because they're frightened. But I was always empathetic to the Glenn Close character. I remember Stanley Jeffy and I used to talk, and he used to say, Sherry, she's crazy. I mean, look what she did. She slashed all the cars. I said, well, she was mad. And then he would say to me, he would say to me, at what point do you think that she went crazy? And I don't think she was crazy to start with. I think it was one married guy too many, and we all have a tipping point where we could crack about anything. I said, well, I guess boiling the rabbit, maybe that was.
And Sherry, furthering it, why do you think sometimes that critics, when a film is actually really great, that they get it so wrong? Why?
Because they're people. They have their opinions. And
but why is it this one group of people, but society sees it differently than them?
Well, here's the great thing that's
Is
happened.
it that they see too many movies? What?
They may see too many movies. They may see them alone in a theater, not with an audience. I don't really know. I know they're people. They bring their own prejudice, their own feelings, and they get it wrong a lot. But what's happened now is a democratization of critics. So it's all changed. I mean, it used to be you got a bad review in the New York Times, it was over. Now, it doesn't make any difference. Now, the real thing is Rotten Tomatoes, which is like an aggregation of critics, and it's an aggregation of the public. But really, I don't think any of it makes any difference. If people like the movie,
Word spreads.
they go see it. And if people don't like the movie, they don't go see it. I can think of films that we had that got the greatest reviews in the world and nobody saw. And I can think of films that we had that got some of the worst reviews, and people, they made hundreds of millions of dollars. And I will also tell you, which is very interesting to me now about Fatal Attraction, nobody except you remembers it got bad reviews, and critics write about other movies who gave us bad reviews and say, oh, if it only could be as good as Fatal Attraction. The very same person that criticized us.